Hey guys, I was supposed to make this video a while ago. My wife made a video on godly marriage, and her intentions were we both were going to make a video from the woman's perspective and then from the male's perspective as far as godly marriage. Obviously I'm a little behind the eight ball, but something stirred in me a little bit to maybe go ahead and speak on it tonight. So I want to speak on it a little bit. It took me a while because when she asked me to make the video, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, what are my thoughts about godly marriage? And I was trying to think about what I would say, maybe what I shouldn't say. And I just kind of didn't feel right about making the video when I had those thoughts going through my head. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to wing it. And I feel pretty good about that. And this is my opinion about a godly marriage from a biblical perspective as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there's more sound doctrine out there as far as biblical marriages, and I'm sure a lot of people in today's society will disagree with my thoughts on a godly marriage. But let's have some fun and let's get into it. So I believe that a marriage is between a man and a woman. I want to get that out of the way. That's what God intended. I believe that it's one male, one female coming together. I believe that it is 1 + 1 makes a stronger one. The whole thought of marriage, as far as I know that God is concerned, it's a covenant made between a man and a woman before God. And that is why the vows are till death do us part. Without God at the center of a marriage, I'm not so certain that it's an actual marriage. And I say that tentatively because I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but the fact remains that the numbers don't lie. And divorce rate is sky high because people aren't getting married for the right reasons. They're getting married for lust, they're getting married for money, they're getting married for the emotion or the feeling of love or what they perceive to be love, but they have no concept of the Father. And without knowing the Father, then you can't truly have that union between the two partners, between the male and the female, between the husband and the wife. You cannot have that union if the husband does not have that union with the Father, and if the wife does not have that union with the Father. God has to be at the forefront, and He has to be the pinnacle of the relationship in order for it to be a marriage. Now, concerning the roles and the duties, like, listen, there are things my wife does better than me. She handles them. There are things that I do better than her. I handle them. There are times where she needs help. I help. There are times, not as often as I should. Let me say that. I do know that. But I do try to help. And there are things that I need help with that she comes over and she helps me. So, I mean, it's all about making each other better, completing each other, and going after God together. I say it all the time when I'm talking to people or trying to just, minister to them or help them when it comes to relationships, because it's such a touchy subject, because emotions are involved, and when the emotions are involved, people aren't thinking clearly. But the fact remains that I believe this wholeheartedly, and I say this to every person that I talk to. I cannot be a true husband. I cannot be a husband if I first am not seeking Jesus, seeking to know Him, to become more like Him, going after the Father. If I'm not going after the Father, y'all, if I'm not seeking after becoming more like Jesus, I am absolutely worthless to my wife. I am worthless to my wife as a husband. I am worthless to my son as a father. I cannot be a husband. I cannot be a father without going after Jesus. I love my wife because of many reasons, but one of my favorites is if I'm not in a good headspace, because maybe I haven't been praying as much as I should be, or maybe I'm not reading as much as I should be, or whatever the reasoning behind it is. If I'm not in a good headspace, and I tell my wife, I say, I need some time to go be with the Lord, there's no argument. Like, it's as if we're on the, I can't even put it into words. She understands that statement coming from my mouth. And the moment I speak those words and say, I need time to go spend with the Father, she just simply says, okay. Because she knows that that is priority. In the same token, if she tells me I need to read, she reads. I take my son, I take Levi, and I'm like, come on, buddy, and we try and give Mom some time to do whatever she needs to do. Because that has to be priority. I can't emphasize that enough. And it's not hard to see the evidence where the lack of God in relationships and where that leads. You know, I would also like to say it's been my experience over the past 3 years, almost 4 years now, that you can take it how you want to take it. I'm not trying to sound sexist. I'm not trying to sound any kind of way. But the male is supposed to, the husband is supposed to lead the household, lead by example. And I have noticed that if I come home and I want to read, my wife pulls out her Bible. If I come home and I want to watch a movie, we sit down and we watch a movie together. So, take it for what it's worth. I don't know, but that's just something I've noticed. And it's amazing because whether we're not doing it purposefully, but it's almost in a sense that I'm leading my household. And so if I decide not to open the Bible for months on end, that doesn't mean that my wife's not reading when I'm not home. It just means that I'm not opening my Bible and we're not reading together, we're not pursuing God together. You know, she could still be reading on her own time, and I'm sure she does. However, if I come home from work and we put our son to bed, and the little bit of free time that we do have together, if I'm choosing to spend it wisely, she's right beside me. If I'm choosing to spend it unwisely, she's right beside me. So husbands, I want you to realize the effect and the role that you play in the marriage. What you seek and what you go after, the wife will join. At least that's my experience. There's a whole bit on, you know, being unevenly yoked and a non-believer not, you know, getting with or a believer not getting with a non-believer. And then on the same token, you know, Jesus tells you that if you've been divorced not to remarry. I don't want to touch on those subjects. I just wanted to touch briefly on godly marriage and what it meant to me. And basically the most important thing that I can stress is I have to go after Jesus, for I cannot be the husband that I was created to be. I cannot love her the way that I should if I'm not experiencing and living in the love of God. That's just the simple, plain, black and white truth to the matter. If you're not pursuing God, you are actually being a detriment to your relationship. And I hope that helps somebody. And I will talk to you guys soon. Love you.